some.
Good morning. Welcome to GW and congratulations on your admission to one of the nearly 100 graduate programs that we have in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences. I'm Chad Heap, the Associate Dean for Graduate Studies in the college, and I am delighted to welcome you to campus today, and I look forward to welcoming you to our community of scholars this fall. You've probably seen my name on a letter you might have received recently, maybe even my signature. I would love to take personal credit for having read through the nearly 7,200 applications we've received to our graduate programs this year so far, and to having whittled down that group of exciting students to the roughly 900,000 students we expect to join us over the coming academic year. But I can't take credit for that. Everybody gets admitted in my name, but that happens magically behind the scenes. We leave those decisions, admissions decisions, to the faculty in those 100 programs to make, because they're the ones who are best equipped to assess whether you have the background and skills that you need to succeed in our programs. They're also the ones who look carefully at your personal statements to see if the things you want to accomplish in your graduate program match up with the curriculum we have to offer and the research expertise of our faculty, because we want to accept students who match up with what we're ready to provide and to send you on to the next step, ready to succeed, right? So you have probably already done the hard part of getting into a program, right? You put together the application, it's been reviewed and vetted, and you've been offered a spot in one of our programs, and now it's our turn to tell you why we think we're the right place for you to join this fall. And one of the key components behind that is the kind of role that our faculty play, right? They're very active researchers generating more than 50 books a year and scores of articles, right? They're involved in lab work and archival research and performances and creative work, right? But they are also constantly innovating their curricula, rethinking their courses. We're launching this year 3 new master's programs in applied psychology, quantitative social sciences, and museums, history, and culture that we think are exciting new interdisciplinary programs that provide students some of the skills that they're looking for. And we are launching and inviting students to join us in a lot of our well-established programs, like the data science program that is drawing students from around the world and equipping them with the skills they need to provide data-driven solutions to global problems. We're welcoming students to our thriving and nationally renowned museum studies program and to our speech, language, and pathology program, among others. And I actually heard, I think there are a lot of you here who are in the speech language pathology program. I actually heard a story on NPR just this week about how there's a great shortage of speech language pathologists, especially in the DC area. So might be a good time to do those kinds of degrees. And later today, you'll get a chance to meet some of these faculty members who have made the decisions to admit you to their programs and who are working on really exciting research that they are involving students in. This includes scholars who may not be at the lunch, but they may have been involved in the decisions to admit you, like Greg Wallace in the Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences program, who's leading a research team that's providing crucial health insights into the intersection of autism and ADHD in adulthood. Or biological sciences professor Sandy Kawanu, who received a $1.4 million grant recently to help us better understand how the kind of early amphibious ancestors began to take their first steps on Earth. Or you might be joining our professional psychology program, where our new director of that program, Oksana Yakushko, is working to train students for their careers in psychology and sharing her experience counseling refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants who are wrestling with questions of identity and culture. So those are some of the folks you'll have the opportunity to work with if you come to GW. I look forward to welcoming you on campus and answering other questions that you may have today. I'm going to hand things over. I'm going to skip past the portrait of myself, hand things over to my colleague, Lindsey Duble-Dice, who will do the next part of our presentation. But welcome to GW.
I think it's really sad we didn't get a moment to appreciate. Welcome, everyone, and good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Can we get another round of applause for Dean Heap? Today is such an exciting day. We are so excited to welcome you all to campus, and today is really all about you, our amazing and inspiring admitted graduate students. My name is Lindsey Duble-Dice. I am the Senior Associate Director of Admissions and Awards here at CCAS. I've had the pleasure of working with many of you throughout the admissions process, and I am very excited to officially welcome you to our campus today. Now that you've had the chance to hopefully grab some coffee or tea and hear from Dean Heap, I am here to give you a quick overview of what's up and coming for the rest of your day. Your virtual agenda is going to be available on your mobile device. So you'll be able to use this QR code here, or you may have already done that at the check-in table. And we're going to start the day with two informative presentations. First is going to be navigating GW and DC, where you're going to have a chance to gain some insights about life in the nation's capital and how to make the most of your time here. And then we're going to transition into supporting your career success. We'll get to meet with two of our career counselors to learn about the resources that are available to help you achieve your professional goals. After those sessions, we are going to transition into our faculty Q&A panel, where you'll get to hear directly from faculty members about their teaching style, mentorship and opportunities, and what to expect in graduate level coursework. After that session at noon, you'll be able to visit our graduate resources and housing fair located back here in the Great Hall, located back downstairs in the Great Hall, where you checked in this morning. This is going to be a great time for you to connect one-on-one with representatives from Career Services, the library, the Center for Student Engagement, local housing vendors, and you'll have a chance to take your time to explore those many resources. You'll also have the opportunity to visit our Student Services Hub if you have financial aid questions as well. At 1 o'clock, we will gather for our program-specific meet and greet lunch. It's going to be back here in the Grand Ballroom or next door in the Continental Ballroom, depending on your program. You'll be able to find your table number in the virtual agenda. So under your program name, you'll be able to find which table number and which room your lunch will be in. This lunch is going to be your opportunity to engage with faculty and fellow admitted students, as well as an informal setting to ask any lingering questions you might have, make connections, get a feel for your academic community, maybe even find a roommate. And then before you leave, we would please encourage you to complete our event survey. A QR code is going to be on your table at lunch, so please be sure to fill that out and pick up your thank you gift at the registration table starting at 1:45 p.m. If you didn't have a chance to go on a tour this morning, we will have some additional opportunities to explore campus with our optional self-guided tour that will be available at the registration desk. And then throughout the day, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask a CCAS staff member. We will be wearing these snazzy gold name tags. You can also find current students wearing red name tags or faculty wearing green faculty name tags. Those students are also going to have red t-shirts on as well, so you will not be able to miss them. So thank you again so much for joining us today. We are really thrilled to have you here to experience all that GW and the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences has to offer. I truly hope that you enjoy your day. Now to kick us off, we are going to have our first session, Navigating DC. So please join me in welcoming Liz Kepferly and Tess Klugevich. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Good. Okay, we need like a little more energy. I'm a fitness instructor, so like, how are we doing? Good. Okay, great. I am Tess Klugewitz. I am the Associate Administrative Assistant. I am a GW alum. I graduated last year from the Political Science and American Studies program, and I am also a DC native.
And I'm Liz Kepferly. I'm an assistant director in the graduate admissions office here in CCAS, where I've worked for 11 years, and I've lived in the DC area since 1991.
Okay, so before we get into our agenda, I want to do a little exercise just to see who flew to DC today. Raise your hand. Okay. Did anyone take the train, maybe Amtrak? Okay, my Amtrak lovers, I'm there with you. Anyone from the DMV area that just needed to okay, hi everyone. Okay, awesome. Great, I like to see where everyone's from. So if you're is anyone from DC? Okay, yep, we're together. We'll talk later. Okay, so today in our agenda, we're going to talk about connecting to GW from anywhere, all of those modes of transportation that we just talked about. GW student and campus life, we'll give you an overview of that. If you have any questions about that, we'll answer them all later at our Housing and Expo Fair. We'll talk about the various GW locations and their campuses because some of our programs that are specialized are in different campuses. We'll talk about the transportation options in the DC area. The metro is not as scary as it seems, I promise. We'll also talk about some neighborhoods because finding out where you're gonna live is a very important thing. I just moved, you know how it is. And then we'll talk about housing resources to help you with that and make it easier. And then we'll close out talking about some of our favorite activities in DC. So, connecting to GW from anywhere. The CCAS Student Services team, which is my office, we are here in Smith Hall 118. That is marked on your map, you'll see it later. And then you can always contact us at our email, which is ccasgradserve@gwu. I highly recommend writing this email down now. If you have any general administrative questions, we can always answer those. Things regarding transcripts, administrative stuff, anything regarding your application can be redirected from our office. If you have questions about your program, you each have a specific program coordinator who's assigned to your program that can kind of serve as your administrative point of contact. We also have the CCAS Admitted Students Facebook page. That is linked on your virtual agenda, and we'll also have some of our current students accepting people as you join today. I highly recommend joining that as well. You can find roommates here. That is where I found my freshman year roommates. We're still friends to this day at the ripe old age of 22. And so I highly recommend. That's a great place to also find apartment listings, people that are looking for roommates, people that want to be friends, people that want to tour campus together. It's a great way to connect. We also have our graduate ambassadors who are wearing those red t-shirts. You can contact them at thegradambassador@GWU, also a helpful email to write down. And then for student life, we have our student life page linked here. That's also on your virtual agenda. That portion of our website talks a lot about what it's like being a student, extracurriculars, how to get involved, all of that good stuff. So, GW student life from a GW alum. I highly recommend taking advantage of all of the opportunities to meet other students and to get involved. That is one of the biggest advantages and pluses of GW, which is why I chose GW for my undergrad. GW student organizations, like GW student government, which I was a part of, is a great way to represent your class, to get involved with your peers, to make important decisions. Maybe you'll run for graduate student senator. Maybe you'll run for GW student body president. You're very ambitious. And it's a great way to have a say in what the Board of Trustees is discussing, in what the school is discussing, dining, all of that fun stuff. We also have the GW Nasham Center for Community Service. They have a great yearly annual MLK Junior Day of Service. You can get involved here in the local community, maybe working in DC public schools, maybe doing a trash cleanup on campus. It's just a great way to get involved. And if you need community service hours for job, internship, maybe your program, this is a great way to get involved. We also have the GW Veterans SVA chapter. So is anyone active duty military, spouse, anyone child of a veteran? If you are fit into that category at all, we have great services here, dealing with health, dealing with classes, dealing with support, any resources you may need. They also have a lot of benefits as well, so I recommend visiting them. And then to burn off all the stress from graduate life and your extracurriculars, we have both GW intramural sports, which I will say, playing soccer on the National Mall is a very only at GW moment. We also have the Learner Health and Wellness Campus, which is here on Foggy Bottom. So Foggy Bottom and Mount Vernon students can visit the gym here. We have weights. There's a pool in the Smith Center. We also have tracks. It's like 3 levels. There's a smoothie place that's really good. That's mostly why I go there. So I highly recommend that. And we also have GW trails. So if you're into hiking, I'm not an outdoors person. I'm trying to be better. But if you're an outdoors person, you're better than me. And you should join GW Trails. They do hikes throughout the DMV, organized by students. It's a student organization. These are just a few of the many that we have. And then campus life, again, a big part of all of the opportunities here at GW. Taking advantage of a rare opportunity to encounter a variety of enriching experiences on campus. We have the GW Museum Textile. That is located just a few blocks away here from the University Student Center. It's a great place where a lot of programs will either hold class, they'll show collections there. It's free, it's accessible, you can always go in. We also have Lisner Auditorium, which is where we've had some very cool guests like Trevor Noah, Carrie Washington, the best GW alum besides me, in my opinion. She's amazing. And then I know Liz had a great time with Jose Andres.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Tess. Yeah, I have to talk about that one because I was able to attend that event in the middle photo featuring Jose Andres, the executive celebrity chef and the World Central Kitchen founder and a GW faculty member, speaking with United Farm Workers co-founder Dolores Huerta. And it was really amazing to share space with these two icons as they discussed the ways that the food systems and the immigration systems are intertwined. But that takes us to the next slide, as after we've gone through some of the things that you can do in and around the GW campus, just to point out, or the Foggy Bottom campus, to point out that we have in CCAS 3 other campuses. Anybody here in these 3 programs that are mentioned, forensic sciences, forensic psychology, or communication management or organizational sciences? Because those are in 3 different campuses that are accessible very quickly by metro from the Foggy Bottom station. For the Arlington and Alexandria campuses, and for the Mount Vernon campus, it is easily accessible by a free, frequent shuttle bus between the Foggy Bottom and Mount Vernon campus, which is not at George Washington's Mount Vernon, but is in the former Mount Vernon College campus area in the Georgetown neighborhood. Okay. And this is a good segue into talking a little bit about moving around the DC area. For those of you who are already from the DC area, Maryland, Virginia, this may be old news, but maybe you'll learn something that you don't already know. For those of you who've come in from out of town, welcome, and I hope this will give you some hints about moving around DC. As someone who's lived in the area for more than 30 years, with no car, all right, I've used all of these methods of getting around town and the area, except for scooter. That's where I draw the line. DC is a very walkable city, and there are extensive bike lanes in the streets, and there are also many dedicated bike paths, like along the river and through the parks. It's really beautiful. But I absolutely rely on Metro Rail for the long hauls, for my daily commute, and for getting to DCA and IAD, Dulles, to fly out of DC if I wish to. For BWI, you'd need to take an Amtrak or MARC train, but it's still easy to get to without a car. I should note that all full-time GW students, both undergrad and grad, are eligible for UPass, which is an amazing deal that will help you keep your transportation costs low. Unlimited Metro Rail and Metro bus rides for $100 per semester. A semester is about approximately 17 weeks from start of classes to end of exams in the fall and in the spring. And you could easily spend $100 in like 2.5 or 3 weeks if you ride the Metro frequently. So I highly encourage you to look into UPass if you are planning to use public transportation. There will be a UPass representative at the expo at noon. And while there are several different bike sharing options in the DC area, the Capital Bike Share or the Red Bike option has a great deal for GW students as well. You can get an annual membership as a GW student for $25 instead of the $95 that it normally is, and that is for unlimited short rides on the bike share. If you want to take longer rides or you want to take an e-bike, there's a surcharge. But I use that as sort of a, to quick go to the library or quick go to an appointment in the middle of the day. I just keep a helmet at my desk. One quick note about the capital city for those of you who are not from around here. It is set up on a grid, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, with the Capitol building as the center of that grid. So you really want to be careful when you're looking for housing or looking for events and heading to a club or something like that, that you looked at what quadrant the address is in, so you don't end up on a completely other side of town, right? GW is in the Foggy Bottom neighborhood, which is in the northwest quadrant of DC. So that takes us to, these are some sample neighborhoods where our students either spend a lot of time, pursue activities, or find housing. This is not a fully representative list at all, but just to give you a sense of what is around. The first 7 neighborhoods listed are all in DC proper. The bottom 5 are all in Virginia. No disrespect to Maryland. Plenty of our students also live in Maryland, and there are also plenty of Maryland suburbs that are accessible by metro. Some of the neighborhoods, as you can kind of see, are sort of more dense and urban, high rises and so forth. Others are more sort of historical or quaint or elegant. And you will find different price levels in many different neighborhoods. Typically, the closer in you are, the more expensive, but that is not a hard and fast rule. Housing is likely to be your highest expense after tuition. So it's something that you want to consider carefully. So as you are considering your housing options, you want to make use of these resources. And these are all on your agenda, at the bottom of the agenda. And you will have ample opportunity to meet with housing representatives at the expo at noon. I would say that the GW 2025 Housing Guide in particular is an excellent resource because it is based on information gathered from GW students regarding their housing choices. So if you're able to go to the expo, you also might want to talk to the GW students who are there and ask them how they found their housing or where they're living, just to get a sense, right? Our students also find, as Tess mentioned, the Facebook group to be super helpful in this process as well. So if you haven't done so, we encourage you to join the Facebook group. Budget is important, but you may have some non-negotiables that you need to consider as you are looking at housing, like is the apartment that you're looking at a dark basement apartment and you like to do all your studying at home? It might be a little depressing, but if all you do at home is sleep, then that might be the place for you, right? So you want to look at your neighborhoods, at your apartments in the daytime, and if you can, in the evening or when it's darker, so you get a sense of what it looks like in both of these areas. If you want to live in an apartment with no kitchen, so that you can afford to live by yourself instead of share. I'm looking at you, Tess. That's up to you, right? Maybe you don't cook, maybe you eat out all the time. That's fine, but you want to think about what is non-negotiable and work with that. Again, you want to visit the neighborhoods in the daytime and in the evening to get a sense of, is it really happening? Is it really lively? Is it really noisy? Depending on what how you look at this. Is it a place that you want to live either in the daytime or at night, right? And you also, if you happen to decide to bring a car with you, want to check on the parking options in your neighborhood. I'm going to hand it back over to Tess now.
This is my favorite part, fun DC activities. If you have any questions about that, you can ask me because I pride myself on my fun activities. So obviously the National Mall, well, for all of you from the DMV, this is like, oh, okay, it's National Mall. But no, it's so exciting, it's the National Mall. And it is right nearby. I still get excited and I was born here. We are just a few blocks away from the Lincoln Memorial and you walk down, it's the reflecting pool, the National Mall where you will graduate eventually from GW, very exciting. And then we have professional sports games. So the Nats, Nationalist Park, you can go see baseball there. The Wizards are not doing great or really haven't ever done great, but you can go see them play basketball. The tickets are very cheap. We have the Kennedy Center nearby. I'm a Celtics fan, okay? The Kennedy Center is right nearby, and we have a lot of free shows there. There's great performances. Some of them are ticketed, local ballets. It's really, really fun to get dressed up and go to the Kennedy Center. They also show fireworks for 4th of July, so I recommend doing that. We have kayaking and paddleboarding on the Potomac. I'm terrified of that, so I don't know. I've never done it, but a lot of people love it, and it's a beautiful area. The cherry blossoms, this is the most exciting because peak bloom is tomorrow, so you guys are all here at the perfect time. So I highly recommend going to the Jefferson Memorial or down to the National Mall. The cherry blossoms are in full bloom. We have a few around campus as well, but that's where you'll get the best pictures for Instagram. And we also have the Cherry Blossom Kite Festival, and that's happening this weekend. So if you're staying for the weekend, I would look up the Cherry Blossom Festival. It's linked on our website as well, but it's a really fun time. We also have Restaurant Week that happens every year. Sometimes they throw an extra one in there. You can pay a flat fee at a restaurant. You get to try a new cuisine. It's a big DC event. It's a very foodie city. And then we also have the Around the World Embassy Tour, so that is free. You can go to all of the embassies. They put on shows, you get to learn about the culture. They have some free food and drinks there. It's a really cool perk. And then the museums, which is my favorite part, which I'm biased as an American Studies major, but the museums are all located down on the National Mall. You can keep walking from Lincoln. You'll see all of them. They are all free. That is the best part. We have a ton of galleries as well. The National Portrait Gallery is beautiful. Also the zoo. I live nearby the zoo. The pandas are back, people. It's big, it's huge. So I highly recommend going to the zoo as well. But those are just a few things. There's always something fun to do in DC, and there was always something free to do in DC, which I appreciate. And then why GW? GW and the DMV are full of smart, passionate, and interesting people from all over the country. I know I went to school with all of them. You can enjoy an easy day here in DC or take a weekend trip to the beach. Union Station with the Amtrak, you can get to Boston to go see the Celtics. You could also go to New York. We have mountains nearby, again, if you're outdoorsy. We have popular cities, like I said, easily accessible from Union Station or from BWI, CCA Reagan. You can immerse yourself in a diverse array of cuisines, cultures, and experiences. There are millions of people here that are from completely different backgrounds than yours, so it's really exciting to get to open yourself up to that, maybe if you're not from a state that has a lot of opportunities like that. And that's all connected to the professional possibilities. Those opportunities are endless here at GW, but working at the Smithsonian, in law enforcement, the federal government, the NIH, the World Bank, which is right nearby, there's endless opportunities here, and you'll be connected with people through networking. So it's really an exciting opportunity. So if you have any questions about this presentation, unfortunately we can't do Q&A like this. This would take forever and I'm losing my voice already, but you can attend our Graduate Student Resources and Housing Expo at noon. That's on your virtual agenda. It'll be in the first floor Great Hall. All of your questions, I'll be there. All of our lovely staff with the gold name bags will be there as well. And then again, we have our email addresses on the bottom for student services and admissions if you want to write those down. And we will see you at 12. We're going to pass it over to the Career Services team.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome, everyone. I am Johnette Ruffner-Caesar.
And I'm Erin Ahart.
And we are your CCAS career counselors. Listen, you all, we are not only, we don't only care about your admission to GW, but we care about what you do after graduation. And so, therefore, in today's presentation, we want to make sure that we tell you about what we offer. We want to offer you a career success plan. We want to give you some key career resources. We want to help you and talk to you about gaining experience at GW, and we want to talk to you about life after GW. But before we get started, we need to know who is in the room. Are you all ready? Ready? Okay. Please raise your hand if you are a senior in undergrad. All right, beautiful. Take note, look around, find your people, okay? Please raise your hand if you've been working in your field for at least 3 years. Raise your hand, turn around, find your people. All right. Please raise your hand if you've been out of school for 5 years or more. Okay? Keep them raised. Raise your hand if you're scared to death about coming back. Yes, okay, look around, wait, find your people. All right, raise your hand if you're currently working full-time. Awesome, awesome. Raise your hand if you know exactly what you want to do after graduation. Okay, you're not looking at your people. Find your people, okay? Raise your hand if you're not exactly sure of what you want to do after graduation. Raise them high. Now keep that hand up, raise your other hand, and say that if you're not exactly sure, you're not ashamed to say it. Okay, all right, all right. Raise your hand if you're really happy to be here, but you could use another cup of coffee. All right, and parents, where are you? Guests, shout out to you, raise your hands. Beautiful. Welcome, welcome. So, regardless of your response, we want you to know that we have you covered, and we also want you to know that you are in the right place at the right time. So, we have some key resources that we want to share with you. First of all, through our office, we offer all students and alumni one-to-one career advising appointments led by Aaron and I. These appointments are 45 minutes long, and we work with you to fine tune your resume, to review cover letters, to discuss interview strategies, assist you with job searching, and more. As students, you can schedule as many appointments with us as you need in order to achieve your goals. Second, our Career Readiness Workshop series is our signature professional development offering. We provide 8 to 10 workshops on specific career topics each semester. Some of those workshops include revolutionary resume, how to build your LinkedIn profile and professional brand, interview with ease, and managing job search anxiety. As a new student, we highly recommend that you attend as many of these sessions as possible. Beyond CCAS, GW hosts more than 700 career programs a year for students in different majors across the university. And some of these are a part of the Graduate Student Career Series. This series consists of workshops and employer events that are open to graduate students across GW. Employers and professionals in the field participate in these workshops as well, so be intentional about seeking out and attending these types of sessions. As it relates to partnerships and integration, GW sponsors multiple industry and employer fairs each year that allow students to meet employers representing a variety of industries. Some of the industries represented include government organizations, nonprofits, employers in STEM, and marketing and communication. So GW holds industry-specific fairs and international student career fairs as well. Finally, I want to stress that GW has some of the most caring faculty members and alumni who are experts in your field. Therefore, they are extremely valuable resources for networking and sharing what they know about their industry. Next, I want to give you a mini career success plan. And I want you to really tune in and listen to this really carefully. So this career plan includes 3 components: knowing yourself, building connections, and pursuing experience. First, it is so important to know yourself. We know that many of you may not currently know exactly what you want to do when you graduate, or you may change your focus towards the end of the program. But the way to move in the direction of figuring out what it is that you want is through honesty and introspection. It's okay to be honest with yourself about what you want and what you don't want professionally. So thinking about things like salary, location, type of environment, the kind of work you really want to do in the forefront of your mind is really important. And so it helps you to really keep your focus and land the right opportunities. Next, figure out your why. Why are you pursuing this degree? Why does this field of study interest you? Knowing your why will give you the fuel and the excitement to pursue your professional dreams, especially if securing the right role takes a little time to acquire. Finally, be patient with the process and yourself. You don't need to immediately have everything figured out. Just be open and flexible and use the support system that is available to you. In the next part of this, I want you to remember to build connections. For those of you who don't have much work experience, please don't wait. Raise my glasses. Don't wait until you're approaching graduation before you start to make connections. As a new student at GW, we encourage you to start building your network immediately by simply introducing yourselves to others. Don't be afraid to do this. By opening yourself up in this way, you're not only getting to know others and vice versa, you're building confidence, establishing relationships, and gradually removing the awkwardness and fear of the networking process. Initially, your network should consist of fellow students, which is why I had you look around, GW faculty, staff, and alumni. And you can ease into this process again just by introducing yourself to each other in this setting, chatting with professors after class during office hours, or even visiting our office for specialty weeks like Graduate Student Appreciation Week, where you can meet staff. And being intentional about attending career-related workshops sponsored by your program that may include an alumni panel. Now, if you have several years of experience, you know how to build connections, right? However, your list of connections may need some refreshing. So, friends, this is a great time to revisit your reference list. If you have not spoken or heard from your folks on your reference list in the last 3 to 5 years, this is a good time to reconnect. I see you nodding. Yes, this is a great time to rebuild your connections or refresh those connections. Next, there is a process to pursuing experience. Therefore, it's important to strategically and intentionally pursue experience before you graduate that will position you for your next or your new career move. Volunteering and interning are great ways to gain experience, but be sure to select opportunities that align with your career interest. To not only give you experience in that area, but this process will help to confirm you are choosing the right professional opportunities for you. Finally, we encourage you to think of your network, volunteering, internships, and your degree as tools. Like any tool, they are only as good as your ability and willingness to use them. If utilized, the tools that are available to you at GW can position you for incredible professional opportunities. And so if you don't remember anything else in this presentation, I want you to know that the knowledge and experience that you gain at GW will make you some of the most employable professionals in the country. You will be positioned to be a GW revolutionary, not only in the classroom, but in the professional world. And we want to support you, which leads us to fact number 2. Research suggests that meeting with career services at least once, this does not count as one of those times, at least once can significantly impact your ability to secure employment after graduation. Therefore, Aaron and I beg you, please meet with us early to discuss your career plans. The earlier you engage us, the more help we can provide. So listen, preparing yourself for the professional world can be challenging, but you don't need to take this journey alone. We are here to help. Thank you all for listening, and I will turn it over to Aaron.
Can everybody hear me? I'm tall. Okay. Perfect. So in addition to some of the amazing resources that Dr. Ruffner-Caesar already mentioned, you also have access to many virtual resources as well. So the first of these, as you can see on the screen. You can't hear me. Oh, okay. How about now? Is that any better? Okay, perfect. So in addition to all of the amazing resources that Dr. Ruffner-Caesar already shared, you also have access to the virtual resources that you can see on the screen and so many more. And so the first of these is Handshake, and it's probably the resource that you all are going to use the most. Okay, so it's probably the resource that you're going to use the most. It is first and foremost a job and internship search platform. And so what's really unique about Handshake is that employers and recruiters have to manually indicate which students from which universities they want to view these job postings. And so if you see a job posting on Handshake, you know that that employer wants to hire you, a GW student. It is the leading early career community in the US, And it's also the #1 way that college and university students look for jobs, and that includes graduate students like yourselves. So there are also more than 750,000 employers and recruiters who use Handshake, and I believe that number is actually up to 1 million now, which is really cool. And it's also home to an extensive resource library, which includes interview preparation resources. On top of that, Handshake is how you will make a career coaching appointment with myself and Dr. Ruffner Caesar, and it's how you'll find, search for, and register for some of the many career events that you have access to on campus. Other resources that you can utilize as a GW student are VMock, which is an AI resume review platform. We still want you to meet with us as career counselors after you get it reviewed, because we can tell you about how your resume is going to be read by ATS systems, talk about professional branding, all of that. We've also upgraded VMock to now include a mock interview tool. And so you can conduct a mock interview right from your apartment or house at any time using this platform. We also recently acquired a new platform called InnerStride, which is going to be helpful for international and domestic students who are navigating the job search in different countries. And so that's going to be super helpful to you. And then finally, GW Career Connect and GW Leadership Connect are both exclusive to GW students and the rest of the community. And they're similar to LinkedIn in that you can find GW alumni, faculty, staff, anyone in the GW community to serve as mentors to you and just reach out and ask them questions. GW Career Connect is for all students, and then Leadership Connect is specifically for people who want to work in the nonprofit and government sectors. And so Dr. Ruffner Caesar already mentioned how important it is as you move from classroom to career to gain experience outside of the classroom. And there are two main ways that GW students do this: on campus and off campus. So the first resource I want to mention on campus is the Student Employment Talent Management System, where you can search through more than 40 different employment types. That's not the number of positions available to you, it's just the types of positions that are available to you. And so some of these are research positions, projects for specific departments, administrative and event management roles. It all depends on what the departments need. And so next, I want to move on to the Office of Office of Graduate Student Assistantships and Fellowships. That's a mouthful. Where you can gain assistantships and fellowships. Some of you may already know if you've gotten a graduate assistantship, but I would definitely reach out to that office if you're looking to gain more subject matter expertise in your field. There are more than 60 different research centers across GW. That's one of the highlights that I think you'll be really interested in, and this includes in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences. And so Johnette and I love to see research on your resumes because it's extremely transferable. Off campus, you might pursue internships. I'm sure you all know what this is. Virtual, in-person, paid, unpaid internships. Those are the ones you typically hear about. But I also want to draw your attention to micro internships. So micro internships are managed by the Maine Center for Career Services, and this is when an employer is seeking assistance with one very specific task. And if you as a student are really trying to hone in and focus on gaining one specific skill, a micro internship would be a really great match for you and that employer. Micro internships last anywhere from 1 week to 4 weeks, from 5 hours a week to 40 hours per week, just a really accelerated experience in a short period of time. And then, of course, you can utilize Handshake, LinkedIn, and your GW community to find internships and pursue these opportunities. And so Dr. Ruffner Caesar mentioned that your degree is a tool, and especially when paired with experience outside of the classroom, you are all going to be some of the most employable professionals in the country. Now, our alumni have an amazing reputation of going on to do amazing things in the world. And so there are more than 88,000 Columbian College alumni living in all 50 states and in 120 different countries, which is pretty amazing. They're working at Big Four firms, think tanks, research institutes, universities, foundations, and the list really goes on and on. So what you see on the screen here is the Life After GW visualization, which is accessible on our Career Services website if you scroll down to the bottom. You can filter by where people are working, but I also highly recommend that you check out the main GW LinkedIn page. And the reason why is because you can see where alumni, not just in the Columbian College, but from across GW are working today. There are more than 320,000 on the followers on the main GW LinkedIn page and more than 190,000, if I'm remembering correctly, active GW alumni on LinkedIn that you can filter through. Again, not just in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences. And there are so many more filters that you can use on LinkedIn to learn about where they are today. Now, again, just a little bit more information about our alumni. More than 320,000 GW alumni overall. Again, more than 88,000 of those are from the Columbian College. Overall, our alumni are represented across 150 different countries. And then I mentioned that there are about 180 to 190,000 active alumni on LinkedIn. Well, 36,000 of these are active in GW LinkedIn groups that are organized by the GW Alumni Association, and these are industry specific. So I really want you all to join whichever LinkedIn group matches your interests, your field of study, because this is another great way to start making connections right off the bat. And again, something that's unique in general at different universities, but specifically to the Columbian College, even within GW, is that career advising is available post-graduation to alumni. And so once a GW revolutionary, always a GW revolutionary. But you know, if you decide you want to make a career change down the line, anytime you just need to ask us a question, you can pop in for a one-on-one coaching appointment, and you can also continue to utilize all of our workshops and events that we host here. And so the links to all of the resources that we mentioned today are up on the screen. But I know that that's a lot of different links. So if you just go to our main GW Graduate Career Services webpage, that will be just fine, and you can access all of the resources that were mentioned. And again, we want to make sure that you visit us at the Graduate Resources and Housing Expo after our presentation today, where Dr. Ruffner Caesar and I can answer any questions that you all have. And so with that, welcome to GW. Thank you so much for listening. You can also email that email there if you don't get a chance to talk to us today with any questions that you have. And now I will turn it over to the faculty panel.
So don't leave yet, but if you want to stand up and stretch your legs for a second while the faculty assemble, please feel free. Okay, I think we're going to plow right ahead, so I hope you stretched your legs quickly. We're running behind time, and we want to try to get us back on schedule. I'm going to let each of our panelists introduce themselves, tell you the program they're in and how long they've been at GW. Then I have like an opening question for them. And then we're going to move to questions that you've pre-submitted or that you have here now, or we also are live streaming this event for folks who couldn't come to DC today. So we'll be taking questions from them as well. So I'll start by letting the panelists introduce themselves, tell us their program and how long they've been at GW. And then the whole purpose of this panel is to let you get insights on faculty, teaching methods, mentoring approaches, and any other questions you have about how to succeed as a graduate student in the Columbian College. Joel?
Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? I'm Joel Blecker. I'm the current Director of Graduate Studies in the History Department. I've been at GW since 2016, and my area of specialization is Islamic Studies, Middle East Studies.
Welcome to GW, everyone. My name is Jessica Jocelyn. I am in the Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences. I am the Director of Graduate Studies there. I specialize in bilingual child language development.
Hey everyone, I'm Mary Coughlin. I am a professor in museum studies. I've been here almost 16 years and was an adjunct for about 3 years before that, so it's creeping up on 20. I'm also representing the Corcoran schools today, so if you're in one of those programs, talk to me. And I'm an art conservator by training. That's everything.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Dr. Catherine Marshall Woods. I'm representing the Professional Psychology Department. I'm the Director of Graduate Studies there. I've been at GW for a long time. I was undergrad, grad, and now faculty for 13 years. I have left, I promise, but came back because I loved it.
Hi, I'll stand up because I'm shaded by the podium. Yeah, so I thought I was going to win because I've been here 21 years as a faculty member, but you just beat me there. I'm the chair of the Department of Forensic Sciences. My name is Daniele Podini. I am a forensic DNA analyst by training, and I'm the Director of Graduate Studies for biology, the biology program, and right now ad interim for the chemistry as well, forensic chemistry.
So out of fairness, since everybody's dating themselves, maybe I should say that I'm also, when I'm not the associate dean, which I won't be much longer, like I'm wrapping up a 6-year term as associate dean for graduate studies at the end of this year. I'm a faculty member in the Department of American Studies, and I'm in my 25th year on the faculty at GW. So yeah, I'm gonna get like a crystal apple or something later this year because of that grand 25 years of service. So I want to start by asking all of our panelists if you can each briefly describe your teaching style and how you engage with students both inside and outside the classroom.
Okay, well, in our history graduate classrooms, I would say our approach is really both student-centered and multimodal, meaning that we really focus on the questions that students are bringing to class, and not just doing the assigned reading, but getting students out into the field, out to the Library of Congress, doing research before coming to class, so that when we engage whatever history we're grappling with, we're doing it, we're doing it based both on the work that you as students have brought to the class, the way in which you have processed some of these ideas, and the original work that you've done. The other thing maybe I'll just mention too is that we're more and more interested in trying to give credit for internships, which I know is something that I know a lot of MA students are interested in. So I'm happy to talk about that more too in the Q&A.
For me, I would say that I am more of a application-based instructor, so my students get a lot of case studies, and that's throughout our department. We do a lot of case-based instruction. Our students also are learning to be speech-language pathologists, so we have a clinical component, so we integrate clinical work with coursework. And so my students get opportunities to engage with the community. I have a class where I have enrichment day, so if I teach a topic, they have to go out in DC and visit a museum or something that's related to the topic that we covered in class. How do I engage with students outside? I'm also like an academic advisor and all of that, so students have access to me all the time, and they also have the opportunity to schedule virtual or in person, because we know a lot of graduate students, they do commute to be on campus, and so they have an opportunity to select the way they want to kind of engage.
I think we're pretty similar. Everyone in museum studies gets assigned an advisor, and every faculty member serves as an advisor, so we don't have one director of graduate studies. We all try to be practical and accessible. So meaning, yesterday I took my class to the National Museum of Asian Art. We had a great session there. And if you're one of the museum people, you're probably going to end up in a place that's understaffed and underfunded. So I will teach you best practices, but I'll also teach you how to do stuff with the resources you have. And that's a mindset I think we all carry with us. And like people were saying, just utilizing DC as essentially a laboratory.
Similarly, within the professional psychology department, we are scholar practitioners. So, of course, we're learning the psychological theory that goes into becoming a clinical psychologist, but we're also providing case studies for you to learn from. Within the individual's second year of practice, they actually enter a clinic that we have on campus, serving the DC, Maryland, and Virginia population that come to receive low-cost services so that you're learning how to become a psychologist on the spot. You are also provided lots of supervision within the community, as well as faculty serve as supervisors for both psychotherapy as well as psychological assessment. Students are also in the community providing services in conjunction to the center clinic. And then the third and fourth years, they're able to also receive services and provide services in the community. We're very much about applications similar to most programs as well, and really take advantage of DC population that we can provide services to.
I'll keep standing up. I don't want to be shaded by the podium. In forensic science, obviously, we're training students to become DNA analysts or forensic drug analysis or crime scene investigators. So there's a component, a theory component and a practical component where students actually process mock cases and then are trained to present their data as if they were expert witnesses, so try to kind of explain complex concepts so that an eighth grader can understand them, because that's the average education, science education that a juror has. There's also a passion component, I think, that we all share. We're not in it for the money, certainly. We're in it because we believe that we can make a difference vicariously through you guys when you go out there and start working real cases. And also we try to instill responsibility in our students, like everyone here, obviously. But as a forensic scientist, you're going to be processing many cases that are numbers, but behind each number, there's a person, there's a family, there's a victim. And so we try to make you understand that as well.
Great. So what I want to do now is move to your questions so that we can take as many of your questions as possible. You might tell us what program you're in, because I'm going to probably ask our panelists, just a couple of panelists, to respond to each question. And so if there happens to be a faculty member who thinks they're more prepared to talk to your program, it'd be useful to know which program you've been admitted to. So any questions that you have about graduate studies? Wait just a second, we got you a mic.
So our live stream audience.
Oh, okay, great. My question is directed for Catherine. My studies are going to be in the art therapy program, and you talked about the clinic here on campus. So are we going to be able to get a chance to get some hours in or do an internship within the clinic on campus?
So students gain hours through their respective clinics that they have on campus. Art therapy is also one of them. And yes, you do earn hours, and you're collecting those hours in order to be competitive for internships later on. So the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Jessica, you might want to respond similarly, since your program also has clinic.
Yes, so we have an on-campus clinic, and so students, from the beginning, first semester, you are immersed into the clinic, or you take classes in clinic together, and then in the second year of the program, you get to take that clinical practicum outside of our in-house clinic. You get to go to a variety of settings out in the DMV, so DC, Maryland, Virginia area.
Great. I see a question in the back. There was one over here somewhere.
Hello. Thank you so much to the panelists. So I have a question for Catherine Marshall Woods. So I was admitted into the professional psychology program, and I wanted to know if the fourth year was a year where we get to have more autonomy, work, and actually get paid. Like I want to know about the clinical intern or externship of that fourth year.
Yes, individuals complete their coursework within 3 years. In their fourth year, they are competing for internships around the country and Canada. And those internships are paid.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hi, I also have a question for Dr. Catherine. Apologies. I have two questions. One of them, I was wondering, I'm a PsyD student, and I was wondering how the students balance the clinic with schoolwork. What are the clinic hours and all of that? And then, in addition to that, with all of the different responsibilities that the PsyD students have, what support systems are in place from faculty to help us make sure that we complete all of those requirements on time to be competitive for internships?
That's a very good question. How do they manage it with difficulty? It's very challenging. It's very time consuming. You're carrying a caseload of approximately 6 to 12 clinical hours per week, and as well as completing coursework that is typical for a full-time student. You do have a lot of support. You will have a very supportive cohort of individuals who are peering with you within your classes, but faculty is right there with you. We also are all serving as advisors to students, and you can come to your advisor, but most students actually find faculty members that they really enjoy working with, and they pop in their offices all the time as well. But you also have clinical supervision. And within our program, which is pretty unique, is that you end up having approximately 3 to 4 clinical supervisors supervising all of your work, both psychotherapy work as well as psychological assessment work. So many individuals are spending 3 to 4 hours a week in addition to all of that in supervision, where not only are they processing the clinical information, they're also talking about their countertransference and how they feel about that, as well as self-care. And so you do have a great deal of support. Most of our students say, actually, I could use less support and actually more time to sleep.
So Jessica, do you want to talk about like how students in speech language pathology balance clinical training and experiences with coursework?
Yes. So similar to the psychology program, students do take classes and have clinical work, and they receive all the support that they need. So every student has an advisor. Every student has a clinical supervisor that meets with them after sessions. Students count on each other, like they're a cohort. They come in together, they build this culture of supporting one another, and so they develop friendships, and that's helped them as well. GW has a lot of resources that I tell my students about. There's mental health resources. If they feel like this is too stressful, I need to speak to somebody outside of the department, they have that option. And so yeah, we just advise students to use all of the resources available to them.
And so I'm going to impose one of my own questions and I'll come back to the audience. Like for Joel, Mary, and Daniele, right? A lot of our graduate students are juggling other things. Like they may not be in clinics, right? But they're working part-time or full-time jobs and trying to pursue their graduate studies. What kind of advice do the three of you provide in your programs about how to juggle those kinds of responsibilities?
Well, we're very much aware that our students in the history department, I think most of our MA students are working during the day. So we will often schedule our courses in the evenings, for instance. And I think we really are mindful and flexible with deadlines, paper deadlines, extensions, and these kinds of things. But yeah, I think the larger idea too is that some of our graduate students will go on to apply to PhD programs and stay in academia, but we know that one reason that many of our MA students come here is to find employment in the city, either in government and media and one of these cultural institutions like museums. So yeah, we've been trying to build up scaffolding to allow students to connect work that they're doing in internships with their work in history. So so yeah.
Similarly, in forensic science, our classes are offered in the evening so students can try and find internship opportunities, part-time jobs, and we obviously foster that and try to maximize the chances of our students getting these internships. In the DMV, there's probably the greatest concentration of crime labs in the world, some that we don't know of, and so we know that, and we purposely try to schedule our classes in that way.
I'll just throw in real quick for museum studies in an acknowledgement of how hard it is for students to juggle everything. A few years ago, we historically had required 2 internships, and then we heard students saying things like, I have to quit a paying job to take an internship for credit. And so we thought, okay, yeah, that's true. So we now mandate just 1, but encourage 2 if you can do it. So we really do hear you and try to help you with our struggle. And our adjuncts tend to teach at night, but there are some classes in the day as well.
So before I impose myself, I saw a couple of other questions on this side.
Testing. Hello, my name is Helen, and I would like to propose a question to Professor Mary Coughlin, please. I'm wondering for museum studies program, if the student got a paid job, would that be possible to replace the internship requirement for the program?
Great question. This comes up sometimes, and we really, again, try to be practical and accessible in our decision making. And so you'd have a conversation probably with your advisor, maybe the program head, and we could sometimes flex to say, okay, if you're gaining a new, like if it's a job you're already in, but are you gaining a new skill? Like, because really we're trying the internships as a way to make connections, but we also, again, want to be reasonable. So a conversation will totally be had.
I have a question on the aisle. Did you have a question? On the front here? Okay.
Yeah, I have a follow-up. So, with all the internship programs, would it be unpaid and paid positions are all accepted for the program, or is it only paid that's accepted?
Great. A few years ago, again, in acknowledgement of the struggles, is that in our newsletter and in our sites, we clearly list what is paid and unpaid, so that you go in knowing what that means. Because we thought we're big enough and large enough that we're going to push for paid internships because we strongly believe you should be paid for your work. However, there might be a great opportunity that's unpaid that you then can decide to pursue.
Wait for them to get to you with a microphone. On the back on the left here.
Okay, thanks for the panelists. And my question should be for Professor Joe and Professor Mary Coughlin. I was admitted to the newly opened joint program Master in Museum Study, Culture, and History. So I'm wondering what's the coordination mechanism of the program? Is just to give more flexibility in course choosing, or it's across the department like Museum Study, American Study, and History department. So I'm also wondering what's the difference between with just the Museum Study program? Yeah, thank you.
So this is a new initiative that was really spearheaded by one of my colleagues, Katrin Schulteis. So maybe we can speak after, and I can connect you with her. But I really think I think part of the idea of these kinds of interdisciplinary programs is to not only challenge students to think across boundaries, but to give them different avenues to pursue. And I think that's a big part of we we want these MAs to open your horizons rather than to narrow them. And I think we were looking around the landscape and seeing that in DC, there are so many different cultural institutions and museums that are hiring the historians, the kind of work that historians do, the kind of research we do. And so how do we put this together? So I know Katrin, my colleague, Professor Schulteis, worked with colleagues in the Museum Studies program to build this.
And I'll just throw in that we're really excited. There seems to be a lot of interest in this program, so we're all thrilled about that. And then for the museum studies aspect, there are some classes that we're envisioning that cohort coming and joining us with. And then we're also thinking of maybe making some specialized classes to really hit the target of history museums. So it's developing, but again, we're thrilled.
Right. So, I mean, I can just say generally, like, having also been supervising the development of this on some level in the dean's office, right? The idea is to give students who might pursue a more traditional degree in museum studies or in American studies or in history, a kind of combination of those things, right? Some nuts and bolts practical skills in how to deal with museum collections and things, but also some more scholarly background in American studies or history, right? That might be the kinds of stuff you need to know to curate an exhibition or put together the nuts and bolts skills with the scholarly knowledge. So it's one of those things that we're looking at more and more now, is sort of like building on the strengths we have in different places and repackaging them to help students have a different way to approach subject matter and a different way to think about taking the knowledge that they're getting into a career setting when they leave GW. So I saw on the back.
Thank you. Just along the same lines, I'm also in the museum's history and culture program. Very excited about it. A little bit more practical question of, because it's interdisciplinary, how is advising going to work? How is like concentration and kind of curating your experience towards your career goals and career aspects? That kind of goes alongside that. How is that going to work within that program?
Well, I maybe I will say this again. I think actually Katrin Schulteis will be. I think she's actually at an event this afternoon related to the museum studies, the new museum studies program. She's going to be the best person to. I think she would probably be engaged in your advising, and I think given the interdisciplinary nature of the program, I think it probably will be quite tailored to different students' career trajectories and interests and what they're trying to get out of this program.
And I know for museum studies, and so earlier I had said that we all serve as advisors, and Laura Schiavo, who is the point person in this design, she will then be the advisor for the museum studies aspect of people who need that.
And she also has, like, she's a graduate of our PhD program in American Studies. So she's going to be a good nexus for these different programs. So
Thank you.
On the side.
Hi, I was admitted into the applied psychology program, and I wanted to know what are you guys' criteria for assistantships and fellowships? Because I know we have to be recommended for that. So I just want to know, what is the process and what are some things that I should be doing throughout the program to get recommended for something like that?
So I guess I'll field that one. So when we admit students, right, we know you need to know all of the stuff about like the cost and everything when we admit you, so you can assess whether this is where you want to go and it fits your budget. So any opportunity that we can or that we award to students up front, like, we have considered you for that when we made the admissions decision and the initial award offer, right? And we offer very few guaranteed assistantships of any sort at the master's level. In a handful of departments where we know they routinely need graduate instructional assistants and routinely hire master students for those, we authorize them to make some offers when they admit students. But in most programs, it's just PhD students who are being admitted with guaranteed assistantships, teaching assistantships, or research assistantships. That said, every semester, we have programs that need to hire master's students as graduate instructional assistants. If your program is hiring people, they'll let you know about that. If they alert our central office, we let everybody know about that. The writing and the disciplines, or the writing program routinely hires master's students to serve as graduate instructional assistants in writing and the disciplines courses, right, which are writing intensive courses in different departments, not just in the Columbian College, but across the entire university. So that's an option that you can apply for, right? And there's some information about that on our website, but those kinds of opportunities, when we know that there's a need or an availability of those things, we let folks know. If it's a department that has run out of their own students to employ, and they know that like master's students in other related fields have been good graduate instructional assistants, they'll reach out to those programs to solicit applications. We have several of our programs who never have enough graduate instructional assistants because they have such high undergraduate demand for their courses. So we're often looking for students in who can assist in biology courses and lead labs and discussion sections, in chemistry courses, in some of our sociology courses. I think those are the ones, and writing in the discipline courses across the entire college and university. Those are the programs that immediately spring to mind that are often looking for additional folks. And so those are also places you might reach out to if those sort of fit your needs. And then as our career services people were saying at the beginning, there are often like shorter term research opportunities where a faculty member has some money to hire someone for like a few weeks to do some research, right? And those get advertised through the student employment office, along with a wide variety of other jobs, right? Maybe you don't want like a job that's incredibly stressful. Maybe you would rather just like reshelve books at the library, right? Those jobs are all posted there as well.
Can I say something about that?
Danielle.
Yeah, we are one of the department, an example of whether the things that Chad was talking about. A lot of our students get hired as TAs in the chemistry department or in the biology department to teach undergraduate classes. Those openings generally come out in July. Those departments send us the posting, and we send it to all our admitted students in July, and they can apply. And yeah, a lot. If you ask chemistry and biology, their TAs are a lot of forensic science students.
Yeah. I saw in the back here.
Hello, my name is Colin. I was admitted to the American Studies Master's program. I was curious about what kind of funding resources there are for students that maybe want to do research in the country, a different city, or like even abroad.
Like, although I'm a faculty member in American Studies, I've been sort of siloed in the dean's office for the last 6 years, so I can't speak to this, but in great detail. But many of our departments and programs have graduate endowments that they sometimes repurpose to provide funding for short research trips. I think American Studies has, they have a generous alum who, I don't think they have an endowment that supports this, but they have a generous alum who gives them $5,000 or $10,000 a year that they divvy up among PhD and master students who submit research proposals, right? So it's going to vary from program to program, and probably depends on how many people are asking for those resources, and how, some programs have many graduate endowments, some have none, but there are often resources, and your program will be able to tell you about those in particular. In the back over here.
Hi, I had a question for Mary about the Corcoran schools. Obviously, a big reason people choose GW is its unique relationship with the Smithsonian. So I was just wondering what the school does to maintain that relationship and introduce students into it.
Sure, good question. Yeah, so like I said, we really do look at DC as our laboratory, and certainly Smithsonian's play a large role in that. And so in museum studies, we have had adjunct teachers, and so you will go to the Smithsonian at night for a class, for instance. Plenty of field trips behind the scenes. And something that may not be obvious, but is super cool, is that there's a reimagined partnership between the Corcoran and the National Gallery of Art. And so that partnership has really grown in the last year or two. And so we've had students do pop-up exhibits, do dance and music installations, so you're performing there. And then also obviously behind the scenes and having instruction from them. And so again, both Smithsonian and the NGA are really strong partners. And we have a lot of graduates who end up working there, and they have a fondness for hiring interns and things like that. So
And I'll just say, right, like the Department of Anthropology has some connections with Smithsonian programs. The Department of American Studies does. History may also, right? And do any of the rest of you want to talk about like connections you have or your programs have with other DC institutions or opportunities?
So the Department of Forensic Science has a partnership with Bodhi Technology, which is one of the biggest private forensic DNA laboratories in the country. We have a specific fellowship with them, so they select a student among the admitted cohort, and they offer them a job in their research section even before the student starts attending GW, so in the summer of their first year. And they work for them on part-time, like around 30 hours a week. They conduct their independent research project that is a requirement for our program within Bodhi Technology, and every single Bodhi fellow has been offered a full-time job there. Actually, we showcased this one. The Bodhi Fellow that graduated last May is in a week talking at the American Association of Crime Lab Directors to present this fellowship as a model for crime labs to partner with universities so that they can get higher, greater talent within the lab as soon as possible. Then we have kind of an informal interaction with the National Institute of Standard and Technology, the Montgomery County Crime Lab. The DC lab is struggling right now, so we're trying to figure out what to do with them right now, but hopefully things will get better soon. And there's also the federal government, but internships through the federal government have to follow a different route in terms of applying there, but we do get their recommendation requests. So we recommend that you guys make an effort in knowing your faculty, engaging, so we can write a strong recommendation letter.
One more response along those lines, and then I'll move back to other questions.
I'll do one. Our program has about over 100 collaborations within the city between Maryland, Virginia, and DC. They include community mental health agencies, actually DC courts, private mental health hospitals, Children's Hospital, Children's National Medical Center, MedStar Hospital. I mean, the list is over 100 faculties that we collaborate with our faculty members and our students. Additionally, our faculty also have labs that we work with, and many of the students who find a particular interest can work with our professors in their labs, which also creates different levels of affiliation. For an example, my lab is specific to media work as a media psychologist, so the students are able to do media psychology with me and be able to collaborate with all the film festivals that we work with within the country.
So again, right, I mean, as you can tell, like we have about 100 programs, right? But all of our programs are making these kinds of connections in the city. And so these are, like, to find out what your program is doing specifically, these are the kinds of questions you want to share with the faculty advisors who are going to come at lunch and find out about the specifics in their program. I've been seeing a hand down front for a while, so if we can get that question.
Hi, I'm Cassidy. I was admitted into the criminology program, but I know Dr. Woods, you said that you did your undergraduate and graduate here. So it could be for all of you, but like, why GW? Like, why did you guys want to teach here or why did you go here?
Start. I wanted to be a student here initially because of the wide diversity of individuals who attended here and the amount of educational opportunities, as well as opportunities particularly in the DC community. One of the things I love about GW is that many times you're on campus and sometimes you don't know if you're still on campus or if you've strayed off campus. We are very integrated within the city of DC, and I like the lack of boundaries our campus offered, both like physically, but also just cognitively thinking all of these opportunities are here for me. There's so many cultural opportunities, so many opportunities that are free and that are so enjoyable to participate in. But I chose to stay here for my doctoral degree because of the high level of the education provided. Our PsyD program has been ranked very high throughout the US for many years. And so I really knew that was the location I wished to be trained.
Other questions? We have some up in the front here. We'll get to you in just a second.
Hello? Okay. My name's Grace, and I was admitted to the Museum Studies program. I was just curious, I mean, not to be grim, but with the recent signing of the executive order to defund museums and libraries, I'm just curious how that may be addressed in the program in terms of goals for careers and with the changes that are going to happen at the institutions like the Smithsonian and all of that kind of area of thinking.
Great question. And like everyone here, there is an uncertainty, right? Because there is. I will say on a personal level, I spent like 100 hours reviewing IMLS grants in February, and I hope that those places get their money. But side note, we try to be practical and honest with our students, and so these are discussions that we're having. I will say I've had several field trips and conversations with my colleagues at Smithsonian, and they at least currently feel pretty buffered. I have been told that things like internships tend to come through, not to get too into it, but more like contract work is sort of separate funding, and that feels safer than some federal positions, ironically. So as of now, we're okay, but again, we have to play day by day.
There is a question.
Hi, my name is Crystal, and I'm in the speech language pathology program. I have two questions. My first one is, I was wondering for the clinical externships, would the students need to find their own like placements, or is that in full control of the faculty, or is like a combination of both, where the students are working with the faculty to find their placements? And then my second question is, I know that the externships are divided in the second year. Are the externships divided like one semester in pediatrics and one semester in adults, or I was just kind of wondering how that works.
So students do not have the responsibility of finding their own externship. We have a whole team that's dedicated to doing that. Students do get to share their wish, right? They get to say, oh, I'm really interested in working with aphasia, adults with aphasia. And so we take that into consideration to help find the best place for you. I say this with a caveat, because if you decide, hey, I want to do an externship back home and it's not within the DMV, then you are responsible for finding your externship, and we work together with you to do that. I have a student who's doing an externship in the Virgin Islands, right? So she found that, and she's just living up there, right? So yeah, we work together to do that. I think I've answered all your questions, right?
So I'm going to take one more question up here up front, and then I'm going to ask one final question, then we're going to move on to the next event.
Hello. Yeah.
So I've been admitted into the MS in Applied Economics, and I was just curious if any of the panelists could maybe speak about the program or maybe direct me to a potential person who could speak at the program today.
So I don't know that any of us can speak to that in great detail. I am pretty certain that Joanne Weiner, the director of the program, will be at lunch. And she is she came to GW specifically to organize and oversee that program. So she is the absolute expert to answer your questions. And I'm
Thank you.
sure she'll be happy to. And so I'm going to ask. Okay, so I'll take one more question and then I'm going to ask a final question. So in the very back.
Hi. So I was accepted into the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies Master's Program, which I know none of y'all are professors of, but I know because we are a smaller department, we have a lot of cross-listed courses, and I guess it's specifically for the professors of history and museum studies. What kind of opportunities and courses are there for WGSS students to work with actual archival materials and have those cross-listed courses and have that crossover?
So the person for you to speak with is Professor Sarah Matheson. She's actually on leave this year, but I'm sure she would be happy to speak with you about it. She works with a lot of these archives, and I think she headed that program for a period of time. But I would just say that, specifically in the history department, and I'm sure you'll find this in many departments in the humanities and social sciences, we do think about issues of women, gender, and sexuality in most of our courses. So there's, and there certainly are opportunities to do research. And as I said, professors really encourage you to take on your own, bring your own research interests and your own research projects to bear on the papers that you write. So these are plenty of ways for you to bring your work in the archives in DC into the classroom, both in the WGSS program, but also in courses that are technically listed outside of it.
And I'll just throw in that there's very few classes in museum studies that we close to only museum studies students, and that's just to ensure that if they're required, that they can graduate. So we have classes in gender and sexuality, museum, social justice, archival practice. So I encourage you to look at what's offered and enroll.
So, and I'll just add to that, right? The one thing, just generally, some of our master's programs are really self-contained, and you're only going to take classes offered in those departments or those programs. Many of them, right, have at least some opportunity to take at least some courses, elective courses in other departments, and we encourage you to explore those opportunities. Some of them, like the WGSS program, rely a lot on those kind of cross connections because it's a program rather than a department, so it has it has some faculty who are hired specifically for that, but a lot of faculty who are tenured in other departments who also play a role in it. I happen to be, in my other life as a faculty member, I'm a faculty member in American Studies and a historian of sexuality and American culture. And so when I'm teaching graduate courses, they are almost always cross-listed with WGSS and with history, as well as American Studies. And I often have museum studies students and art history students and other students in my classes. I won't be teaching a class next year because I'm going to take a much-deserved sabbatical, but I will be teaching the year after that unless some other opportunity comes along. So if I'm offering a graduate course that year, you would certainly be welcome. I want to just, because I noticed at the beginning, right, or actually when Jeanette was asking you all where you came from, we have some students coming straight from undergraduate studies. We have some students who have been out of school for a while. And I always try to do this, and we'll do it again when you get here in the fall, but I wonder if everybody could just say a little bit about what is it like to be a graduate student? How is that experience different from being an undergraduate? what do you need to know if you're coming directly from undergraduate to graduate school that's going to be different, or if you're returning from time in a career, like what do you need to know to be prepared to succeed when you get here in the fall? So let's start on this end, Daniele, and work our way down.
I think, we expect students to be more independent. I would recommend you advocate for yourself, but at the same time, expect not to be handheld like it happens more in undergrad, right? You're here, you're obviously, were a good student in undergrad, otherwise you wouldn't have probably wanted to go to grad school, and we're stringent in admitting students. And if we admitted you, it's because we think you're gonna be successful. We don't admit people that we don't think are gonna be successful. So roll up your sleeves, work hard, but we're here to support you. So if there's something that's bothering you, some issues, just come and tell us before it's too late, okay? That's what I recommend.
Very good advice. For us, we really want to know who you are. We're training you to become a doctor of psychology. You will be our future clinicians. You will be our future colleagues. And so we want to really know how you think. Our cohorts are small, so we have an opportunity to hear your voice, and we want to hear it. We want to know what sort of clinician you are, how you think about patient care, the things you like, the things you don't like. We want to be able to recommend you to different things that we think will fit your needs and your desires in your career. And we want to see you grow and succeed. So really, we just want to get to know you, which is, I think, a little different than undergrad when there may be 100 or 300 people in the classroom and there's not much space for that. We really encourage students to pop into our offices, to be able to have conversations, think things through, wrestle with us about the challenges that they're having academically or with patient care. We, again, are really just trying to understand who you are so then we can really craft and create spaces that is going to best serve you as a student and as a future clinician.
I think one of the biggest shocks when you come to at least museum studies program is that 9 credits is full-time and classes meet once a week. So there's a lot of independent work that you are expected to do, and that can be a shift from undergrad, which maybe you're going, to class twice a week, 3 times a week. So that can be eye-opening, but hopefully in a lovely way. And then I had a student recently say to me, like, it is so hard just to call you Mary. I'm just so ingrained that you should be Professor Coughlin. And I was like, no, because we're just have this relationship for 2 years, and then for the rest of the time, we're colleagues. So I'm Mary.
Not everybody.
Yeah, please.
That way,
Yeah.
right? So
We're a little
check it out,
informal.
Yes, do not call me Jessica. I am Dr. Jocelyn. But at grad school, it is different from undergrad, right? Because you get to really build relationships with your professors. I've attended weddings of students, and so that's really exciting that you get to build that relationship because they're going to leave and they're going to become colleagues, right? And I get to run into students at professional conferences. So that's something that's really different from undergrad is that you really get to build those relationships with your professor. And also, like everyone said, you really will need to learn how to manage your time because you are very independent, right? Everything is in the syllabus. We're not going to send you thousands of reminders. It's in the syllabus. So.
Yeah, I would just add, I think echoing everything that's already been said, but I would say usually in the first week, I know it's the mindset that, oh, we're here for 2 years and then I'll be a colleague, then I'll be a professional, then. And I think what we have been trying more and more to cultivate is this idea that, no, actually your professional career starts now in the first week. You are a colleague now. When you come to class, you're coming to class as a professional, as a colleague. You're bringing your own perspective, your experience, your research, your skills to the table. So yes, there's a truth. There's a truth to that idea that you're here, you're building, you're growing, and that we hope that you'll flower in the future. But I think switching that mindset and coming in and thinking, hey, you know what? Actually, I'm here. I'm already here. I'm already a professional in a certain sense is a really, I think, a good thing to take with you.
And one thing, I'm just going to offer one kernel of advice before we sum up, and then we're going to send you downstairs to the expo before we feed you to get you some more information. But since I don't think I'll be here in the fall to welcome you back to GW. I want to provide you one piece of advice that I provide my own students and that I usually provide first-year graduate students, right? Which is, and this comes from like years, a lot of years of teaching, right? And having been a graduate student, right? And getting emails from students saying like, what reading list should I do over the summer to prepare, right? You can't do anything really to prepare, but you already know a lot about some stuff. And other people in your first year classes are gonna know a lot about some other thing. And you're gonna hear them talk about that and you're gonna think like, oh, I am so stupid. I don't know anything. I'm afraid to ask anything. But you just know different stuff, right, than the other people in your class. And so the first thing you need to do as a graduate student is realize like every first semester graduate student feels like they are completely unprepared and they're the only stupid person in the room and that everybody else knows everything. They don't, they just know different stuff. And there's no way you can know everything you need to know, right? And so the quicker you recognize that everybody else feels that way, it took me about 10, 12 weeks until someone I thought was really smart asked a question that was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, she doesn't understand either, right? If you can have that realization earlier on and realize that, right, if you don't understand something, ask about it, but also share the knowledge that you actually already have because other people don't know that, right? And you know, if you don't want to confess to the faculty member that you're feeling stupid, confess to your fellow students because they all feel the same way. And as soon as you realize that, you're going to be able to participate and get more out of your education. So I hope you all come back in the fall to join us. I'm sure you're going to get much more information at the expo downstairs that will help you make your decision and even more specific information about your own program from the faculty members who are coming to meet with you at lunch. And maybe even some of them are going to take you back to the department and program and introduce you to other people and show you around. But I hope you enjoy your time at GW and that we see you again next fall. And thanks to all of our panelists for taking this time today.